What's up, Christ Center Mental Health community? My name is Lydia Sarchet. I represent Christ Center Mental Health, the ministry where I talk about mental health awareness from a Christian perspective in order to give you real hope in Jesus' name to the glory of God the Father by the power of the Holy Spirit. Alright, before I get started on this video, I have a few announcements for those of you that are new to the channel. The ministry does have a Christ Center Mental Health Facebook group and a Christ Center Mental Health Facebook page. Both of these serve for the purpose of allowing people to be aware of what's going on with the ministry. Also, it serves the purpose of allowing subscribers to interact with each other and interact with me and give me content ideas. Another thing, me and my wife started a holy matrimony and mental illness group. This serves the purpose of allowing Christian married couples that struggle with mental illness a place where they can fellowship with other Christian married couples who struggle with mental illness, and we give each other sound biblical advice, we build one another up, and we encourage one another in the faith. So if you're interested and you meet that criteria of being a Christian married couple who struggles with mental illness, please join the group. And then also, there's a Christ Center Mental Health local fellowship. You have to download the Meetup app, but this is pretty much a place where people in the local Toledo area can get together in local areas such as coffee shops and stuff for fellowship and Bible study and discussion on faith and mental illness issues. And then also, there's a Christ Center Mental Health podcast, so please check this out. The link to all this will be in the description box below, so please check them out. So the reason why I decided to make this video, as you can tell, the title of the video is called Growing Up Asian While Dealing with Mental Illness. And the reason why I made this video is because in the Asian American community, or just in Asian communities in general, mental illness isn't really talked about. Like it's pretty much ignored, and growing up Asian and dealing with mental illness for myself, and also seeing mental illness in my mother, it caused a deep sense of shame. Like, because Asian Americans and Asians in general tend to pride ourselves on being very self-sufficient, independent, and hardworking, and so when there's mental illness thrown in the mix, it does cause a sense of shame. Like, one starts to feel like they're less Asian, and it causes a lot of mental and emotional problems. I firmly believe that if mental illness was more talked about in Asian communities, and if it was more talked about in Asian communities, and it was more encouraged for people in Asian communities who struggle with mental health to seek treatment, then maybe my mother maybe she would have been more willing to take her medication and to seek treatment. Because honestly, because there's such a huge silence on mental illness issues in the Asian community, people like my mother weren't really encouraged to seek mental health treatment. They were just encouraged to just brush it under the rug and ignore it and to pretend it didn't exist. And because of that, my mom thought she was okay, and there was nothing wrong with her. Because in Asian communities and Asian American communities, if you can't see it, then there's obviously nothing going on, and it's a really faulty reasoning. And that's and don't get me wrong, I'm proud to be Chinese, and I'm proud to be Chinese American, but it's definitely something that really makes me sad about the people that I come from, my kinsmen, so to speak. It makes me feel like if it was more talked about, it needs to be more talked about in Asian American communities and Asian communities in general. Because it does cause a deep sense of shame, and it causes resentment in Asian communities when either they deal with mental illness themselves or someone that they know deals with mental illness. And the thing is, mental illness is actually it's it's actually more common than people like to think. Like so that's the other thing I want. That's the other purpose for why I'm making this video. Is I want to help any other Asian person, whether they're Asian American or Asian in general. I want to help them understand if they're struggling with mental illness or they know someone who's struggling with mental illness. I want to give them some comfort, some peace. I want to give them. I want to give them. I want to encourage them, because I wish when I was dealing with my mental health issues, and I wish that when I knew my mom had mental health issues, I wish that someone would have made a video like this for me, so that I can feel like I'm not alone. But so I'm doing this. I'm making this video for the Asian person out there who is struggling with mental health issues and they think they're alone. Um, like I mean the whole idea with I talked about this Asian Americans and Asians in general tend to be seen as very hardworking and self-sufficient, independent because of the model minority myth, and because of that um Asians, they try and keep up appearances. Like in Asian communities, it's all about appearances, how your family is seen. So being vulnerable in front of people and being transparent in front of people and and telling people, hey, look, do we struggle with mental health problems? That's unheard of in Asian communities. Asians don't really talk about mental health issues. So, I mean, in a lot of ways, it's kind of like the black community. Because I heard in black communities, they don't really talk about mental health issues either. I mean, for my black viewers, if that's true, please let me know in the comment section below. I'm not gonna presume to act like I know what goes on in the black community. So for my black viewers, if that's true that in the black communities they don't really talk about mental health issues, please let me know. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But that's just what I've heard. Um, but yeah, it's very much, it's very much taboo. The topic of mental illness is very much taboo in Asian communities. And my mother, she was a very proud woman who didn't want to be dependent on anything or anyone. She valued her independence, and she instilled that belief into me. So when I first was diagnosed with mental illness, I was very much ashamed because I wanted to be independent. I wanted to pave my own path and depend on no one and nothing but myself. Like uh, like so um So because of that, my mom, she never wanted to acknowledge her own mental illness. She didn't acknowledge it. She ignored it. She pushed on the rug. I mean, I remember having conversations with my mom over and over again, trying to convince her to see a psychiatrist and try and get on medication. And she would say, "There's nothing wrong with me. I don't have mental illness." And it was very heartbreaking to see that because I would see her talking to her voices constantly, yelling at her voices, screaming at her voices, slamming cabinets, and it was very heart wrenching. And um yeah, and I would try the approach of coming to her, telling her, look, I understand that it's difficult. I understand. And I tried coming at her with empathy because I understood why she was denying, because I didn't want to admit that I had mental illness either. I mean, I told her I did admit it, and I struggle with it, but I told her I take my medication, I do better. And she was actually, ironically, she was actually quick to acknowledge that I had a mental illness, but she didn't want to see her own mental illness in herself. And so yeah, we would go back and forth constantly about that. Um, Yeah, and like I said, when I was first diagnosed with mental illness, like I didn't want to. I actually I didn't deny it, but I did feel a deep shame, and I got angry at God. I got really angry at God when I was first diagnosed with mental illness. Um, yeah, for those of you that don't know my story, I did make some a YouTube video series on here, talk about my testimony and how I came to Christ. And in that testimony, I talk about when I was first diagnosed with mental illness and the deep shame and anger that I felt towards God. And I unpacked that. Yeah, like it's all the series is also on Rumble too. So, um, but yeah. So please, like after this video, please check out that series. Um, but yeah, I do want to talk to the Asians. Like I want to level with the Asians real quick about in this video. Um, I want to let you know that when you struggle with mental illness, there's nothing to be ashamed about. Mental illness doesn't discriminate against skin color. Like meaning mental illness is so common it affects all people. Like generally it affects anybody and everybody, regardless of skin color. You could be white, black, Asian, Hispanic, whatever. Mental illness is common. Like it's very common. It's actually I've seen it. It's so common actually that either everybody knows someone who struggles with mental illness, or they struggle with mental illness themselves. That's how common it is, and the chances are if you don't think you know anybody who has mental illness, it's only because you don't know anybody who's been diagnosed with a mental illness. But chances are you do know at least one person in your life who struggles with mental illness. That's how common it is. So don't think that because you're Asian and you're dealing with mental illness, or you know someone who deals with mental illness, that you're less Asian or you're a freak or whatever. Like you're not. It's perfectly normal. It's common to deal with mental illness. Um, yeah, and because it's common, there's no shame in acknowledging that your brain is essentially broken. There's no shame in it. Honestly, if you broke your foot, would you be ashamed to admit that you broke your foot and go to see a doctor? So in the same, or if you had diabetes, would you be ashamed to admit that you had diabetes and you need to take insulin shots? So in the same way, it's not there's no shame in admitting that your brain is broken and you need to see a doctor to get on medication. Um, yeah, and just because you have a mental illness, like I said, it doesn't mean that you're less Asian or you're less human. You like I love my culture. I love my Chinese culture, and I mean, yes, I'm American, but I'm also Chinese. And my mom raised me to be in touch with my culture, and I and I'm very proud of my Chinese culture, and um yeah it doesn't mean that you're less Asian or less human just because you're because you have a mental illness, and you can still be very independent with a mental illness. You still don't have to be dependent on anyone or anything. You can still make a way for yourself, still pave your own path, and I mean, as long as you stay on your medication and you continue seeking treatment, you can still be very well independent. Um, so I would encourage any Asian person out there that struggles with mental illness to seek professional help or professional mental health services. Well, I mean, you may need to see a counselor. You may need to if you need to see a psychiatrist, you need to see a psychiatrist, and do it without shame. There's no shame in it. There's absolutely no shame. There's no condemnation. If you struggle with mental health issues, then see a psychiatrist, see a counselor, get on medication. Trust me, if you put this off for any length of time, mental illness is degenerative. So that means that as it goes, the longer it goes being untreated, the worse it will get. So if you suspect that you may have a mental illness, don't hesitate to go see a psychiatrist to get diagnosed, because you don't want it to get worse if you do have a mental illness. Trust me, if it gets worse, you could end up either in prison or a psychiatric ward or dead. So this is your life we're talking about. Like, there's no shame in taking care of your mental health. Um, I would strongly suggest you see a mental health professional, get a proper diagnosis, and just be completely honest with the psychiatrist and tell them what's going on. If you're not honest with the psychiatrist, they're not going to know how to help you. So you got to tell them exactly what you're experiencing so they can better help you. Um, and don't get discouraged if, like, you get put on a medication, you don't like how it makes you feel, and you just want to like give up. Like, no, talk to the psychiatrist. Tell the psychiatrist how the medication is making you feel. Let them decide to adjust the medication accordingly, or to try a different medication. Whatever they decide, they're the expert. They know how to treat you, and they'll understand better what to do for your situation. So just be open and honest with the psychiatrist and work with them. And eventually you will get put on the right medication if you don't give up and you keep on seeing the psychiatrist and you work with them. Eventually you will, by the Lord's grace, you will be put on the right medication and you'll do a lot better. So, like, don't get discouraged if you're not put on the right medication right away, or if you don't get the right services right. If you don't like the psychiatrist that you're working with, request a different psychiatrist, or request a different counselor if you don't like the counselor you're working with, too. Um, so, like, I hope that this video is encouraging to any Asian out there, whether you're Asian American, or um, or you're, um, or you're just Asian in general. Like, I hope that this video is encouraging to you, and I hope that you understand that mental illness is not something to be ashamed about. It's not something that you need to sweep under the rug. Like, you're still very much Asian. You're still like you could still be in touch with your cultural roots, like, as an Asian person. So you don't have to be worried that you'll be less Asian if you admit that you need help. Like, there's no shame in it. Like, um, so yeah, that's all I have to say about that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that this really does bless someone out there. Thank you everyone for watching this video. And as always, please check out the Patreon account. You can give, if you feel led by the Lord, please give any amount that you want to give. I'll never ask for a specific amount. You can give either, you can give whatever's on your heart. And if you do give, it gives you access to a private Discord community for online fellowship and peer support. It'll also give you access to a daily devotional on faith and mental illness Monday through Friday. And for a limited time, a portion of all the proceeds I receive from Patreon will go towards helping a couple from church adopt a child. This child really wants to adopt, or these parents really want to adopt this child, and this child really needs a family. So please help me help them adopt this child and give this child a loving, caring home. Um, Also, please check out the Christ Center Mental Health Ministry TikTok, the Christ Center Mental Health Tumblr, and the Defending the Faith blog. And also, if you struggle with mental health issues, I want to make myself more available to you. If you struggle with mental health issues, and you need peer support, please don't hesitate to call the 24-hour peer support ministry line. The number is 567-343-3727. Once again, that's 567-343-3727. If y'all don't answer right away when you call me, please leave a voicemail, and I'll promise you I will call you back as soon as I can. Like, I will not leave you hanging. So, like, yeah. And if you're not comfortable calling me, like, you could always email me at the Christ Center Mental Health at gmail.com. email address. Again, that's christcenteredmentalhealth@gmail.com. And this information will be in the description box below, so you guys can so you guys can see it in writing. But yeah, anyways, so that's all I have to say. Let me know what you guys think about anything I said in this video. And leave a like on this video. Please share this video around. If you know an Asian person who's dealing with mental health issues or has family member or friends dealing with mental health issues, please share this video with them. And yeah, so anyways, have a good day. Stay strong in the Lord, and God bless. All right, bye.